streaming to YouTube while we're in this, like now. This webinar is being live streamed. Hello, YouTube. How you going?
There we go.
All right, Dave, want to push the buttons and let everyone in to the Zoom session. If you are watching on YouTube, we're actually doing this on Zoom.
Live presentation then. Live presentation.
You know, getting old, you have to wear your glasses.
I should do an intro for everyone watching on YouTube, which is welcome to Morning Startup. We've got Duncan Blandford here. And all right, the webinar is starting. Cool.
People coming in.
Great. Participants. Sweet. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Daryl, Ross, Aaron. Hope you're having a good morning. I think I am. I've had one coffee. Welcome to Morning Startup. My name is Scott Glue. I'm one of the organizers. I'm also here with Dave Newman, who's
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Not quite one coffee in yet, so we'll give you some breathing space. And today we have Duncan Blandford. G'day, Duncan.
Morning, everyone.
So Duncan's going to be taking us through scaling a business from day one is the title of the talk, but it's around, Dave here is having 2 weeks off. He's finally taken 2 weeks off his startup, although he's been
it was supposed
back.
to be 2 weeks, but then there was like, Dave, I need this, Dave, I need that. And they're like little birds asking for stuff. So yeah, no, the last 2 days I've not started. So today I've said, like, guys, I'm offline and I've deleted Teams. I've turned off the email. So we'll see. We'll see if they can meet the challenge.
So it sounds like Dave needs to listen to this talk from Duncan today, because it's all about, if you can't take a day off, then what the hell is the point, right? Being able to systemize your business so that you can enjoy life while running a startup as well. So Duncan's going to take you all through that. But before we do, let's just go through some fancy people that are helping us with the Morning Startup. Actually, before we do that, let's go through shameless plugs and announcements. So we're usually at Riff, where you can stand up and introduce yourself and tell us what you're working on and mingle with the community. But the next best thing while we're on Zoom is the chat session in Zoom. So please introduce yourself in the chat and tell us what you're working on. And if you've got any shameless plugs, if you're looking for hiring people or looking for a co-founder or for funding, or you just want people to try your product, throw that into the chat session. And yeah, hopefully you can connect with others that can help you out. And we can shout it out as well. If you've got any shameless plugs there, we'll
just make sure you make sure, I know Scott mentioned this, just make sure you put it to everybody, not the hosts and panelists. So
oh yeah, there's a little drop down in Zoom, defaults to hosts and panelists. Make sure you select everyone so everyone can see it. Cool. Okay. A lot of people saying good morning. Good morning. All right, shameless plugs. I've got an announcement, which is the Insight Awards. If you haven't heard of the Insight Awards before, they've been going since 1991, I believe, and they are WA's premier sort of awards night for tech and innovation. So if you running a cool tech company, apply and be showered in awards. So the deadline's been extended to the 18th of April. So you got till Easter Monday to get your application in. So get around the Insight Awards.
There's also the Innovation Booster Grant is due next week as well. So those of you who haven't, Charlie was on there a few weeks ago having telling us all about it. If you need to know more, than just Google WA Innovation Booster Grant. There's 2 of them as well, and I forget what the other one is called, but essentially there is 2 schemes. But if you go back and want more information, go and hit up the Morning Startup YouTube channel, and you should be able to see more about that.
Absolutely. And we got some shameless plugs coming in by the looks of things. Ross Gehring, I'm working on 2 startups. Adoptabackpacker.com. Awesome. Adopt a backpacker. And 101sports.io. Cool. And squash.players.app. Awesome. Any others? Working on the Innovation Booster Grant. Cool. Just mentioned that. All right.
We've got Daryl from Singapore. Thanks, Daryl,
Hey,
for
Daryl.
tuning in.
Good to see you again. Had a chat with Daryl a couple of weeks ago. Cool dude. All right, well, let's let those shameless plugs roll in. So our first sponsor that we want to give a shout out to, if you've been to Morning Startup before, you know all about Ammo Marketing. They are an awesome growth marketing company here in Perth. They also have a podcast called Weird Growth, which is awesome. I was listening to it the other day on my dog walk. It was all about the early work community, which is a new community that's sprung up for young workers in tech and startups. A very cool story that's sort of come out of the pandemic. So get on ammo.marketing, subscribe to the Weird Growth podcast, and check out what they can do for your startups marketing services as well.
Love it.
Dave, you want to handle Beacham?
Yes, Beacham Group. So Glenn can't be with us today because he is genuinely down south for half term. But if you are looking for that next role, or you are looking to bring on new staff, then check out Glenn and the team at the Beacham Group. They're a WA boutique recruitment company. They're great people to kind of understand what's going on in the market, who's available. But yeah, check out Glenn. They've been supporting Morning Startup now for many years, and we're big advocates for them. So thank you, Glenn and the team. Check out beachamgroup.com.
Absolutely. And a few other very supportive organizations. The first is Space Cubed. Did you know they're actually having their 10-year birthday this year, along with Morning Startup that just sort of went in November last year. So happy birthday, Space Cubed, and thanks for supporting Morning Startup since we've been going pretty much. They obviously host or have a bunch of co-working spaces down St. George's Terrace. If you need somewhere to work, get out of the home office, go and check out Riff or Flux or Fern. They've also got a bunch of programs, including Plus8.
Yes, so Plus8, I think they close today, or they've closed. I think I saw somewhere. I will double check that while we are talking. But yeah, if you are looking to take your startup to the next level, take your idea to the next level, then check out Plus8. They are WA's very own accelerator, backed by Better Labs and a number of other great companies who are supporting local innovation here. If you're not at that stage, then you can check out Plus8 Sprint, which is a smaller version. I think it costs like a couple of grand or something like that. It's not expensive, but it basically will teach you all the basic skills you need to understand how to get your startup up and running and going, and then hopefully into the next stage of scale up. But yeah, for sure, check out Plus8. Now, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to Startup News. Every Friday comes out without fail. Some great information, great team there bringing stories to us. If you're a bit like me, I always feel a little bit disconnected now from the startup scene, just because head down, focusing in your own business.
He lives in Mandurah.
Yeah, it's too far. Apparently, it's an overnight trip. Some of my colleagues think to come down here. But if you do want that, then check out Startup News. It's great. It's right up there with the other great like Startup Daily and email notifications like that. So check out Startup News.
And of course, we're usually at Riff. We've got a cool coffee shop across the road called Voltage. So when we're back at Riff, go and buy a coffee. Or if you're in the city, go grab a coffee from Voltage. I hear all the businesses in Perth are suffering a little bit at the moment. So go help them out if you got the chance.
Yeah, I was in the city on Monday, and I've got to be honest, it was just like, I kind of expected a tumbleweed to come.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was just not what it was. It was really quite sad, actually. So yeah, get into town, support the local businesses.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're not helping by doing this online, but I'm looking forward to getting back to Riff for sure. So techboard.com.au as well. They have a service. You can go onto their website. You can claim your company's profile. If you have an announcement to make, chuck it up on Techboard, but also subscribe to their funding reports. They're basically a data-based organization collecting data on startups and investments in WA and Australia. So really good information coming out of Techboard. So yeah, get around that as well.
I think it's closed. I can't be sure, but I'm just on the website. I think the Plus8 accelerator has closed. It was literally the last day. If you haven't got it, then tough luck. It's been open for the last couple of months. But it is a great program to be involved with, and some great businesses coming out of it.
That's right. Well, if you did miss out, go check out +8 Sprint as well. So yeah, there are options. Okay, if you would like to contact myself or Dave, contact@morningstartup.com. It's our email address. We've also got a Slack group, because that's how cool and fancy we are. Get on that and have a chinwag with startup people. To be honest, Dave and I use Slack to communicate between ourselves, but it'll be great to get a few more people in there and actually start some discussions. We're also Morning Startup on all of the things. One thing I'd like to give a shout out to is our next Morning Startup, which we're having a pitch event. So every now and then we'll do a pitch your startup event. We've had 4 startups currently that have registered to pitch, and we've got room for a few more. So if you would like to do a 3-minute pitch, so really nail down what your business is all about in 3 minutes, you can present that to the very supportive Morning Startup audience, and then get asked a few questions at the end of it. It's a great way just to hone your skills and practice communicating the value of your business, so that if you're looking at, say, doing the Insight Awards, or you've got pitches coming up that you need to do, it's a great little casual session to practice that. So yeah, if you want to register, contact@morningstartup.com. Just send us a short description of your startup, your contact details, obviously, and we'll see if we can slot you in.
Absolutely.
All right. But today, as I said, we have Duncan Blandford, who's going to take us through building a scalable business from day one. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand the session over to Duncan.
Thank you very much, Scott.
And welcome, Duncan. Woo! There you go.
Thanks. So am I sharing my screen at the moment?
No.
No.
Not yet, no.
Okay, sorry, bear with me 1 second. We did go through this, but the best laid plans.
You can do some beatboxing or some elevator music, or
like
that in the background.
All right, we're going to go again. Sorry, I just needed to bring this one up. And I do want to get the comments up on screen as well, so just bear with me.
Also, if you have questions along the way, just throw them into the Zoom chat. And if it's pertinent, we can interrupt you if you like, or we'll probably just leave them to the end and have a Q&A session at the end of the session.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal, just do a Q&A awesome. At the end.
All right, so we can keep an eye on that for you, Duncan. All good?
Here we go. All right. So you should be able to see my basic thing ready to go. So we'll start the slideshow. There, have we got
beautiful, we've got it. All right.
I'm going to put the chat on the side so I can see everyone's chat, comments, etc. So, all right, let's go. Awesome. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you very much to Morning Startup. I love being part of that community. I love getting the newsletter as well, the startup news. That's always a great thing, and I've made a lot of interesting contacts and stuff out of that. So love your work, guys. Really appreciate being able to make a contribution today. So the talk will go for about 30 minutes, the actual presentation, and then there's some time in there for Q&A at the end. As we go through, please comment, please kind of, if I ask a question and say, I'll throw that in the chat, just do that, just so I can, at the moment, I'm pretty much just looking at my own slideshow and my own face. So yeah, it'd be good to know other people are on the other end there. And I will put my details up again at the end. But if you want to just grab that, there's my email if you want to be able to reach out to me at any stage. So quick little bit about myself. So my name's Duncan, obviously. I might need to. So I have 4 startups on the go at the moment, and the reason I'm telling you this is to demonstrate that the efficacy of the ideas that I'm going to share with you today. It's all about creating time for yourself and not getting trapped doing the things that you really probably don't need to be doing. So I have a consulting business where I work to small to medium enterprises, helping them systemize their business, helping them streamline, gain those efficiencies, and start producing predictable, consistent results. I have a landscape business, Perth Garden Rescue, in startup at the moment. That does rapid restoration of overgrown, neglected gardens. We've got a business called Profit Society, which I'm representing today, where we help work specifically with that 1 to 3 year business startup group and give them a roadmap and support them through the startup journey. I also have a 40% stake in Slackline Perth, where we're helping the world learn how to slackline. And I do some contract work at the moment for Department of Communities, where I'm supporting the uplift of their hardware asset management processes inside their IT department. So got a lot going on, but yeah, hopefully as we go through today, you'll see that these ideas kind of should free you up to be able to, I don't know, create more time in your life. And was that not clicking forward? Okay, so in the chat, let me know, what are you hoping to get out of today? Do you want to scale your business, sell your business, or spend less time working in or on your business? Let's have a look in the chat just to get a sense. Scale from Svetlana. Come on, guys.
Spend less time working on my business would be good.
Less time in the business, all of them, scale and sell. Yeah, okay, terrific. Yeah, and it was promoted as a scale thing. The interesting thing is that the systemization allows you to do all these things. Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Whatever your goal is out of these three things, systemization is the answer to being able to achieve any of it. Seems to want me to, okay. Curious, learning, optimizing. Yeah, absolutely. Scale, scale, scale. Lots of people ready to scale. That's exciting. Okay, so I want you to ask yourself these three questions for starters. Can your business operate independent of you or any specific individual? Some of you may have sort of a managing director in there, or you know, there's somebody who's the fount of all knowledge, etc. If you're a startup of one, then you know, you're going to be tempted to answer no there as well, I guess. Sophia is delivering some honesty there. Truth bombs, hey? Can it deliver consistent, predictable results without close supervision? So, you know, a little bit separate to, is it dependent on you being there? Yeah, if you take an example of like the McDonald's business, the average McDonald's store runs by a bunch of 14-year-olds. Let's see there, maybe early to start day drinking. And is it easy to replace, train and equip staff to perform the way that you would like? The reason for this question is you often hear a lot of, oh, it's so hard to find good staff, right? Has anybody said that before? How many people have a lot of staff here? Just go yes in the thing there. Or how many are solo?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 10 staff. Solo. Yeah, solo with contractors. Yeah, okay, terrific. So one of the things that I'll just touch on at the moment then is the idea of when we see ourselves as we're working as a solopreneur, one of the things we fail to realize is that we're playing a number of different roles inside that business. So as you're working busily away doing everything in your business, it's a good idea to start understanding the work you're doing is aligned to particular actions and roles versus, you know, I am the business, rather I am doing everybody's job in this business at the moment. So just keep that in mind. Let's have a look. Okay, if you take one thing from today, this would be the thing. This is as simple as we can make it. Two of us offshore contractors. Yeah, nice. So this is as simple as we can make it. In the center of this triangle, I've got ability, right? So in there, we're talking about scalability, sellability, ability to take time off, whatever that particular driver is inside the business. Hard to find a personality type that is autonomous and doesn't need their hand held. Yeah, terrific. We'll actually look at that, Safira. That's really good. So in order to have that ability inside your business, there's 3 critical things that need to happen. You need to simplify, optimize, and duplicate. Now, when we talk about simplify, we're talking about simplifying either your product or your service lines. Most people start with, here's a sort of a direction that we're going. Here's kind of what we produce for the marketplace. Sorry, my cat's biting me at the moment. He thinks it's feeding time. Off you go. And then, a customer will say, oh, can you do this for us? See the cat. There he goes. He's a big fat cat. He's blind and fat, and he likes his food. Then we need to, when we understand we're taking when we can simplify the product or service line that we're delivering out into the marketplace, it allows us to really optimize the way that we run the business and deliver that service or product line. When we've optimized that, then it allows us to get to a position where we can start improving the duplicatability of the way that we've run that business. So we're looking at simplifying the offer, optimizing our execution, and duplicating that model at both a macro and micro level. So I'm going to go into detail on each of those 3. Okay. Sorry. When you're looking at the screen, can you see the chat box on the screen? Can someone just say yes or no for that?
No, you can't see the chat box.
Oh, okay, right.
See the presentation.
Yeah, terrific. Okay. I'm moving it to get out of your way, but it's not there. Okay. So I'm just going to sorry, my pen's gone back to the wrong color.
Nah.
There we go. Okay. Very hard to see red on blue. Okay, so let's have a look at this one for starters. How many of you have a lot of variations and offers and choices in the products and services that you offer? And this can look like, it's the old Chinese menu thing. Thanks, Joe. When you go to a Chinese restaurant, they have like 180 different dishes, and you kind of sport for choice. And to be honest, I can't tell the difference between a lot of them. It just seems to be the sauce or whatever. And, we might say, well, we've got, as an example, like the garden and landscape business. Oh, we do reticulation, and we, do garden cleanups, and we do landscape design and implementation, and we do hardscaping and softscaping, and, we have payment plans, we have this price, or we've got low prices, and, we've got and all this kind of stuff adds to the complexity. And if that's what's happening, then you need to simplify. So Joe said, yep, this sounds like a thing for them. How many of you have too much redundancy or repetition going on? So Sophia's got 3 offers, membership. Yeah, nice. 3 offers, sounds good. Okay, so too much redundancy and repetition. And what we're talking about here is when you onboard a customer and you have to type out the same email every time you start a new customer, or you'll capture a customer's details, and then you've got to type that into one of your pieces of software, and then that gets written down on a form for the guys to take out to the jobs, etc. There we go, job management system. Who has that? Who has too many things that they're doing over and over that need to be optimized? We've got multiple. Joe, anyone else doing things too often? No, you will. Yep. Repetition. Yep. Good. All right, thank you, Svetlana. Thank you, Safira. Thanks, Joe. Okay. Yeah, less is more. Let's see, less is more. Hard not to have 2 or 3 software systems. Yeah, absolutely. It's not so much about have you got too much software, but is there redundancy taking place? Can those software systems talk to each other? Okay, and then what about intuition and consultation? What I mean by this is that on a daily basis, choices arise, decisions need to be made. There's kind of actions that need to take place, and you as the business owner, people are coming up to you and saying, oh, how about this? Should I be doing this? Can I go with that? And you know, it's kind of exciting when you're that kind of owner, and everyone's sort of coming to you and you're making decisions and you're like, yep, we're going to go this way, and no, we're going to make that change, and you're delivering all the answers. Who finds themselves in that description inside their business? And I know Dave was talking about this before we started the call, having to tell the team, come on guys, it's, you know, you need to be able to pick this up. Is anyone guilty of that? This is leading the systems and process of documentation. Has anyone? That's yeah. Yeah, which is why vision mission is so important. Yeah, terrific. Okay. Good, good. Okay. Okay. So, sorry, I'm just going to move the chat off. This is a bit of an awkward interface I've got going here. All right, so let's talk about identify then. In order to simplify our offer, what we need to be able to do is identify where we want to specialize, where we want to dig down and really take our business, sort of that one particular product or service that we're taking out. How many of you are familiar with the Pareto principle? The Pareto principle is the 20-80 rule, the 80-20 rule, depending on which way you want to say it. Yeah, okay. So we're talking about 20% of your products or services deliver 80% of your revenue. Right, so generally what we can straight away do when we're thinking about scaling is there has to be a strong, diligent effort to get down in the weeds and say, well, what are we actually going to start saying no to? Tony Blair said that leadership is the art of saying no. And for you to step up and become a leader inside your business area, part of it is saying, let's look at all the things that we're not going to do. Let's stop doing those things. Let's really get down to that 1 or 2 product lines or that 1 or 2 service lines that are going to make us the most money, and then find that extra 20% in there. Let's do 100% of that 20% thing, right? Let's get all our revenue from that one little thing. Oh, I've managed to jump forward in that. Apologize for this, guys. I've managed to. All right. This is a bit different to presenting live, isn't it? Okay. All right, get down to that 20%. The next thing we have to do is to be able to specialize inside that 20%. So this is where we're talking about things like the speed at which we do it, or the price at which we position ourselves, or the geography where we do it, or things like our delivery system, you know, that we're mobile, or we're fast with our deliveries, or we, you know, it's all online, etc. This is kind of, you know, and we know this as your USP, right? So finding that USP and then actually just saying that's, once again, this, we're going to say no to all the other kind of options. You know, we're not going to be the fastest with the right price in this particular area, delivering only online. Let's just pick what we're actually going to really focus on. Has anyone here watched The Founder, the McDonald's story, or read the book Grinding It Out by Ray Kroc? Yeah. Who liked it? I loved it. I've seen it so many times. you know, when they talk about the, he talks about they decided they want to do the speedy system, didn't they? So in this identify section, what did they do? They identified that it was burgers, thick shakes, and fries. They stripped away all the other sort of offers and the roller skate girls and the music and the thing, and just went right down to that burgers, fries, and chips. Then they specialised by making it fast. That was their kind of USP, and their unique technology was about, we're going to have no wait times or low wait times through our thing. The last thing that they did was standardise. So in standardise, this is about saying we're only going to deliver this by one particular methodology. And this, like in that McDonald's example, what was that? It was 3 pickles. It was fries cooked at a certain number of degrees Fahrenheit. It was the 3 blobs of ketchup and 2 blobs of mustard, or however they did it, right? So it's standardized the way they went about that service delivery. So inside your own business, this little straightforward process, it's, you know, it's quite, as we go through, I see everyone's like, yep, I understand this. And seen this idea before, which is great. We all know it. The hard part is to actually go out and do it, because what it means is at some point you're giving up revenue. You're giving up particular revenue streams because you're going to, the initial point is that you're not satisfying a certain customer or a certain portion of your customer base. Does that make sense? And so we become fearful about doing that. We sort of go, well, you know, if I do this, I'm going to lose, you know, if I'm a gardening business and we only do rapid renovations, I'm going to lose all those people that want a fancy landscape. And I'm going to lose the people that want to do reticulation. And we're going to lose the people that, you know, want a maintenance garden to come in and just prune their way through the garden and do some lawn mowing each week. But we're talking about scale, aren't we? We're talking about moving to a point where we don't need to be there, where it can grow beyond our individual capacity. So just a quick thumbs up or a yes or a no, whatever. Who knows that they could do this, for starters? Who knows they could strip down their number of service lines, drill down into a very precise speciality, and who knows they've still got to do the work to standardize. Joe's done it. Well done, Joe. Okay. Work in progress. Yeah, Ross, yeah. Potentially if our business was built on holistic customer client solution. Yeah, absolutely. And it, you know, one of the things, I guess I should have put a bit of a qualifier on this, is that this is a presentation on how to scale. It's not necessarily a presentation on the right way to do business. One of my favorite books is one called Small Giants, and it looks at people that have taken options with their business where they've chosen to deliberately not scale, but rather look after things like either what that place was like as an employee workforce and, you know, group ownership or community sort of involvement, etc. So yeah, we're in this one because we want to scale. Yes, working on it. INS done, standardized missing. Yeah, terrific. Good. Okay. Off more consulting. Yeah, so this is an interesting one for the consulting. I'd be interested to know, Ross, what's the area in which you're consulting? Is it, I'm just going to hit my eraser, get rid of that wrong IT implementation. Yeah, so we can have a conversation about this at the end in the Q&A, and I can speak to that. Just getting my pen going again. Okay, so this is, everyone kind of knows the theory of that first part. This is where, in my experience, there's been probably the light really goes on for a lot of people. Is when we talk about, okay, how are we going to now optimize it? We've stripped down what our service offers is. And the reason we need to do that is because this page here, where we're eliminating redundancy and repetition, this has to happen for every single product or service line that you offer. It has to happen at a macro level for the business, but it also has to happen for every line, everything that you want to offer. And obviously, if you've got 3 different products that you're offering that require a different way of delivering those products, then you need to map this whole thing out and bring in all that standardization for each one of those. And sometimes what that can do is create a conflict or just a distraction. It becomes really complicated really quickly. Okay. So let's talk about linearity. And, you know, if you're going to take 2 things away from today, this would be the second one. Most people's businesses have this thing I call the work blob. All right, you show up to work and, it doesn't work for 23 years. You show up to work and there's a whole stack of things that need to happen in order for you to run your business and for your business to work. And so you get in there, and you and your team and everyone just runs around and does all the stuff that they think needs to happen in order for that thing to happen. In order for your business to run, it's just like work, 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 work. Who has a big work blob? What we need to think about is turning everything that takes place in your business, putting it into a step inside a linear process. And that linear process can also be known as the customer's journey. At the end of the day, the business is only there in order to take that customer on a journey from meeting you, to understanding your products, to purchasing your products, to consuming your products, to giving you money in exchange, and then to, you know, we obviously want to maintain that relationship. So inside your service offerings, the way you deliver has this value chain, how you're creating value for the customer. The overall business has a value chain. And if you look at its highest level, I like to do this in 3 things. There's sales, delivery, and cash flow, right? Rinse and repeat. Sales, delivery, cash flow. And then you can break that down, can't you? Inside sales, what would the next 3 things be? Maybe advertise, handle inquiries, and enroll in your program, enroll in what you're selling. So this map, creating this map initially is where 90% of my work seems to, the light goes on for the customer, because it suddenly stops being this, I turn up to work and I don't know how to prioritize, everything's going on. Now there's intention that sits behind it. Who can relate to the work blob? Just type blob in there. Who turns up to work? Yeah, and look, I'm so guilty of this as well. It's so easy to get caught up. Yeah, Peter knows the blob. How many think their team knows the blob? Even worse, right? We've got teams that are just like, you know, how was your day? Flat out. What did you do? Oh, what'd you get done? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Six Sigma, great program to help support that. Okay. So in order to create that linearity, the first thing you do is you map out the blob. Yeah. We need to map out what are all the steps that take place in providing and delivering that service into the business. Yeah, That's it. So you can see we've done that quickly, sales, delivery, and cash flow, right? And so then we could break that down further. And I said, you know, sales could be advertise, handle inquiry, and then enroll or sale. And then delivery in say the gardening business might be, order inventory, schedule the job, and then execute the gardening thing. And then the cash flow would be, you know, invoice, collection, which, because people don't always pay straight away, do they? Invoice, collection, and then, you know, distribution of those funds to an appropriate area. So you can see on that second layer, we straight away get down to, if we take those first three and break it down, then you have 9 steps on the next layer. If you did that one more layer, you'd end up with 27 steps that describe your customer journey. For those 27 steps, then what we can do is move down here to the output input stage. And what you're doing is saying, okay, for each of those steps, there needs to be a specific output. We need to know, how do we know that step is completed, right? So as an example, inside that delivery section that I just talked about, in the sales process for the gardening business, for example, you could have, you know, there's going to be an inquiry, a quote, and an acceptance of that quote. So that inquiry, how do I know that step has been completed? Well, what we're going to have as an output is customer details, CS deets, right? And then the next stage is, okay, we're going to do a quote. How do we know that quote has been done? What's the output there? Well, there's an email containing the quote that's gone out to that customer at those details. So what we can do with each of those steps, we can map an output, and that output becomes the input for the next step. Does that make sense? How many of you think you could, the Agile definition of done? Yep, beautiful. Yeah, and you know what, good point, Ross. And what you'll find through all this is none of it's new necessarily. None of it's, there's no fresh ideas. What it's about is, how do you implement those ideas in the right order and have a system around it to ensure it takes place. So hopefully what you'll get out of today is, at the end, you'll see these kind of, all these steps mapped out in a row that you can then go into your business and go, okay, we do this step first, we simplify everything, then we optimize it, then we do this, then we can put it into its linearity, then we can deliver our outputs. So it's really good. You all kind of have the capacity to do this. It's just about doing it and doing it in the right order. Okay, so once we know our outputs, then we can move on to this step here, where we understand what actions need to take place in order to produce those outputs. All right, so if we looked at that, handling an inquiry, what action needs to take place? Someone needs to fill out a form. It might be the customer, or it might be the business. Somehow that form needs to get filled out. The next step, a quote, what needs to happen? Somebody needs to gather, gather data or information about the job that needs to take place. They need to do a costing analysis or design. Maybe there's something in there. Then they need to assemble that into a document, and then they need to email that document. Right, so we get a list of actions that now sit under each of these outputs. Does this make sense so far? I'm sure it's pretty straightforward. I apologise for the quality of the scribbles on the screen. Oops, missed that last one. Okay, Now that we have the list of actions that need to take place, now we can have a look at the roles and the tools that we need in order to produce those actions, or for those actions to be able to take place. We're into the duplicate stage now, because this is where we start understanding how do we replicate what we're doing. So the business is now going to be robust. We're going to be able to replicate this. And obviously the idea is, oh yeah, we jump into documentation and etc. One of the issues there is people don't never read documentation, do they? So we'll come around to that. But what are the roles and the tools that need to exist in order for those actions to take place? One of the things that we do when we start a business is we start out on our own, and then we work busily away, start building up revenue, and we bring someone on to help us. So initially there's oh, this is a terrible picture. There's you, the business owner, and you're doing 100% of the work. And then you bring on the next team member, and now you're each doing 50% of the work. And then you bring on a couple more team members for the sake of easy maths. And now you're doing 25% of the work. Or if we put it into real figures, you're still doing 100% and everyone else is doing 25 because there's just a lot more going on. Who can relate to this as a particular model? Because what happens is those actions, as 50% comes on, everything that's going on inside the work blob just gets spread out across everyone, right? And what we end up with is this person here might be a techie person. And so out of that work blob, we say, oh, we're going to give them techie things. And what this means is that it just keeps piling on. We don't know how much of this work is an FTE. We don't know how much it contributes to that customer journey. We don't understand, we haven't built the rollout intentionally. We're just like, oh, you can do a certain kind of thing, so we're just going to throw all that stuff at you. So some people end up being have this overwhelm of just all these tasks that they need to get done, but don't understand how that sits and is positioned inside that value chain, inside that linear customer journey. Does this make sense? Who's got staff and it's been built out this way? You have a role and then you build a job description. So this methodology builds it from the ground up. Okay, so instead of saying, oh, we have these people, let's divvy up the work between them, this actually says the actions basically equal tasks, which then inform the role. Yeah, absolutely. Spot on, Safira. This is one of those areas that is kind of non-intuitive, and it's because we grow our businesses organically, and the reason is because it's person-centered. We start off, the person is you, and so you do everything. The trick is to actually understand everything that goes on inside that business, everything that's happening inside the work blob, to understand it as a discrete set of tasks that we need to assign, not a bunch of people done up work, hired someone for a specific task or project. Yeah, nice. This will save you a huge amount of headache in trying to, in the process of systemizing, understanding the actions inform the roles. Part of the way that you can do that is by, and normally what we do is we have an org chart, don't we? And then, that has particular people, and, this person has a couple of assistants, etc. This is a nice way of understanding who's who in your business, but it's not the right way of understanding the business that you want to scale. It has to be built this way. take personality and individuals and individual strength and all that kind of stuff, kind of has to step away a little bit. It needs to become personality agnostic, individual agnostic. Once again, this is about businesses at scale, not necessarily that we're trying to build, you know, a nice, cozy, local, you know, community or whatever. Makes sense? E-myth territory. Yeah, all e-myth. Okay. When you've got these roles and a set of tasks, now what you can do is say what artifacts are needed to support those tasks. So here I'm talking about, I might just clear some of my artwork to give me some room to draw. Okay. So artifacts are things like forms, templates. This can either obviously be digital or paper or whatever. Guides, workflows to some degree. Not really, I'm going to leave that off so it doesn't confuse it. We're looking for what things can people fill in or refer to or use on a repeatable basis that's going to support that task. We need to be able to identify these, because then you know that the same information and the correct information is being captured each time. How many people have standard forms that they use inside their business? Because I know a lot of people were talking about repetition before. How many people standardize their forms, have templates for everything, email templates? Nods. Yeah. Yeah, terrific. Terrific. Oh, hey, Justin. Justin was a guest on our Start Brand New podcast last week, which we'll publish in a couple of months. Nice to see you here, Justin. Yeah, so hard to find one source to capture inquiry, follow-up notes, etc. Yeah, yeah. So when we're talking about finding one source, what we're talking about there is tool sets and utility, U2. So at this stage with the artifacts, what we're understanding is the need to have them in place every step of the way. The thing with a good artifact is it takes decision making out of that process that people are participating in. It takes out the question of if they're going to remember everything that needs to go in there. It ensures that everything, all the data that those artifacts produce, allow you to have that correct output. That means you've got everything you need for the input for the next step. So super important. When you've got your artifacts, your tasks, and you understand the tools that you're using, then you can develop training that supports that. Now, somebody mentioned earlier on about the documentation, etc. The modern premise is to try and get away from, or my personal preference in building process is get as far away as possible from the need for people to look things up. Get as far away as possible from a dependency on people to follow specific instructions. One of the ways, one of my dogs are howling out there. I don't know, can you see them? Can you hear that, Scott? Put a thumbs up or down. Can you hear the dogs? Oh, great, great. It's the police sirens have sent them off. So when Michael Gerber wrote the E-Myth, everyone was like, yeah, this makes sense. This is fantastic. Here's how you systemize business. The guy who wrote Traction, same thing, really good methodology for building out a business operating system. One of the things that people tend to really get stuck on is the idea that, oh, if we have really good documentation and people can, we can train people and say, here's where you go and follow this work instruction. What people want to do is follow what's intuitively the quickest and easiest path. So there's a couple of things we can do there. One is to, when they understand the outputs that are required and they're using the right artifacts, it should take them directly to that output. They shouldn't kind of need too much training. And somebody mentioned before about understanding mission and the vision. That really good point, because it also equips those staff members to make decisions inside that broader framework. So when we get down to training, we really want to just make sure that the staff members are equipped, to use the tools and the artifacts that are going to take them to the right place. And then we build particular processes to make them bomb-proof, to make them idiot-proof, to make them foolproof. Right, so if you look at McDonald's using the 14-year-olds to basically a whole store runs manned by teenagers, and teenagers are the worst, like having, getting your kids to do things at home and, getting them to do it the right way. And yet the McDonald's system works really well because it kind of removes any ability for them to go too far off track. Best example I have of this is, I put up a pergola a little while ago, this thing we bought for $600 from Bunnings or something. And you could not assemble this thing the wrong way. One of the things they did was they had on a post, this post needed to attach to another post, and they had holes, let's say like that. There was only one way you could put that post onto the other post, because this used a larger size bolt than these two. So rather than having this complicated instruction on, make sure this thing faces this way or blah, 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 they just said this post goes on here. And there was only one way I could position that post in order for it to work. Does that make sense? It's difficult to, without getting inside your specific business, and looking at your specific value chain, to say exactly what that looks like inside your business, but it's always there. There's always a way to make sure things. Thank you very much, Ross. You'll be able to see the rest of it on the YouTube thing, I think. So there we go. Ross is off. So the training is basically where it all comes together. Give them some videos, stay away from the masses of documentation that people aren't going to read. Training is about, how do I use the tools and the artifacts that are going to take me where I want to go. Okay, so how are we going for time there, Scott?
Put another 5 minutes and then open up to Q&A.
Yeah, terrific. So cool. Taking this methodology on, let's see in the comments, how quickly can you hit that goal? How long does it take, do you think, to implement this inside your business? If you're intentional about it, you've got a roadmap, you've got the idea there, you're going to simplify, 3 steps to simplify, 3 steps to optimize, 3 steps to get it ready to duplicate and scale. Anyone want to have a crack? How long do you think it would take you to do it in your business? A year, 3 to 6 months? What about the rest of you? What about you solopreneurs? Maybe a bit more. I'm going to give the participation award to Sophia and Svetlana. 2 years for Kason, at least a year. Yeah, it's interestingly enough, the process I follow for helping people systemize their business, I do an initial three-month rotation through the business with following this process. And then each rotation you do, is just a further refinement on that. So it's really depending on the level of sophistication with your business, but most businesses should be able to hit that target within a year. It's just about a commitment to doing the work. One of the reasons people systemizing their business takes a lot longer is because they've either failed to do that simplify step to really get it down. That's where people really struggle. Or the other thing is that the amount of work that you think you need to do. There are definitely ways that you can do it where you involve the staff, or if you're a solopreneur, you can just by following that sort of methodology, you can just fast track it. You understand the steps that you need to do rather than going, oh, I've got to document everything. You don't have to document everything, just follow those steps. Okay, so there they are. There it is on the screen. There's my contact details. 3 steps with 3 sub-steps. So, all right, let me go back. And you're just doing this, aren't you? You do that through a few cycles. You get to here and then just go back to the top and then go, can I refine this further? Can we simplify further? Can we optimize more? Can we improve the artifacts and the roles and things? Go through this 3 or 4 times and you should be at a point where you can scale. If you've been brutal all the way through, it's about making the tough decisions at each of these steps about what you're cutting. You got to remember this phrase: simplify to multiply. That's the third thing that absolutely take away today. The more you can simplify, the easier it's going to be to build this out for your business. And what you lose in revenue by stripping away all those extra offers, etc., you're going to gain, because now you're going to be able to operate at scale. This is where your hamburger store can turn into a $400 billion global juggernaut. Just started by simplifying, get everything stripped down. There's another way of looking at it. We'll just open up to Q&A now.
Woo!
Thank you.
Awesome. Sorry, I just took a while to unmute myself. Thanks, Duncan. That was great. Hey, Dave, we've got a handful of people in the chat. Obviously, guys, you can ask your question in the chat, but do you want to do your elevate to panelist thing, Dave? And then people can actually ask the question face to face if needed.
Promote to panelist. Promote to panelist. This is where we see who's in their pajamas still.
That's right. You don't have to share your camera. You can just be audio only.
Mug.
But yeah, if you've got a question and Dave's brought you in as a panelist, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, ask it in the chat.
While you're doing that, I'll let you just look at the chats to see what's coming through. If there's any in the Q&A.
We did have while we're waiting. What got you into this, Duncan? Now, obviously, you've started a few businesses and you've seen some problems in starting businesses, and you thought, did you develop this process yourself, or have you done training and you're just trying to help other companies? What's your story?
Oh, well, I read E-Myth when I was young, as everyone has. But look, I would describe myself as the classic, not natural entrepreneur. And I've started a whole bunch of small businesses, and over the years, and each one sort of you fail forward, don't you, in small business, and you kind of have that learning process. And I started them in a whole bunch of different industries. And after a while, I was like, you know what? There's a methodology to doing startups, and there's a methodology to how you're able to grow those businesses. And I just wanted to be able to codify it. And working with business units inside large-scale corporations, I just saw the same thing happening, and I just thought, well, it's kind of that missing piece of the puzzle for a lot of people. You get in, you work your ass off, and then one day you turn around and just go, well, why is it so?
Yeah.
We had I think it was Ross, it might be the guy that left. He was asking about an IP business. Does anyone have an IP business where because he was talking about consultation and talking to people? Was everyone bailing for the day?
Yeah, I guess there were a few people that were sort of consultants and doing bespoke solutions for individuals or companies where maybe they can't, at least in that process, systemize one solution to fit all.
Yeah, so I was kind of interested to see that one come up. I don't know if anyone's still here, but I'll do this for the sake of the recording. This is one of those areas where, it's really interesting about people building. Oh, there we go. Peter's there. Hi, Peter. And Kaysan. I've got Critical Path Consulting, which is a great example of this. It's an IP-based business, and it works with small to medium enterprise on how to systemize their business. This was one of those things where I was like, how do you systemize this? Because I'm kind of the expert, or I'm the one with the information. What it comes down to is productization. You need to be able to codify your IP and then create those artifacts that I talked about that will enable people to engage with that process. So I know Justin, who was on, he does consulting. Ross was talking about doing consulting in IT. So that process of discovery, if the service line is really narrow, you can go in and say, okay, well, what sort of IT consulting is he doing? Is he doing, is it around security, or is it around in networking design or something like that? There can be all these sorts of particular inputs that are still going to be the same every single time. And there's a whole bunch of outputs that are always going to be the same. So it's just the method of discovery and design that has a particular individual that has to do it. So the business can be systemized, even if one of those steps is, we've had this particular input. Next step is it goes to so-and-so for design, customer approval, and then it continues. So I've not really, maybe a psychologist or something might be hard to systemize that particular moment in that conversation and their treatment and psychology work. But the whole business as a whole can be scaled, because as long as you can insert psychologist here inside that process, then the business is scalable. It's easy to systemize.
Yeah, so sort of stepping back and looking at the macro view of the whole business, even though one specific element might be really, really bespoke and customized and particular expertise.
Yeah,
you can still streamline the whole flow of everything else in the business.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then even inside that service, if you have if you're dealing with psychology, then part of that simplification process is you say, we deal with trauma for children from car accidents, so you can, even inside that, you can work with the psychologist, I would imagine, to say, what's the best way to go about gleaning the information from this child? What are the critical things we need to get from that child, in order to be able to help them? And then what are the, 9 times out of 10, what's the way that's going to help them the most? And let's see if we can kind of package that and build something that will support that specific need. Yeah.
Have you seen any cool tools or anything around to help companies not document, but share the process of how to do something and to surface the knowledge that might exist in people's heads? And
yeah, so I use there's Miro, M-I-R-O. Miro is really great. It allows you to kind of draw up mind maps and things like that. You can zoom right in on particular areas. You can zoom right out, so you can have a look at the macro. So you can, I spoke about, sales, delivery, cash flow. You can sort of sit back and look at that, but then you can zoom in and your sales can break down into further things, and you can have links off to stuff, and you can add imaging in. And really allows you to sort of, for someone to go, oh, I'm part of this business whole, and I'm part of this business unit, and I'm part of this role, and here are my templates, and you can really kind of package it up really nicely in that.
Cool.
Yeah, Miro is probably, one of the things I've generally not done, Scott, with people is to tell them what the best tool set is for them. Because some businesses are very visual, and they've got a culture that is very visual. Some of them like their documentation. Some of them like using a lot of video. So the way that information is captured is quite often driven by the business owner, in a way that's going to work for their environment. Yeah.
I don't know, so you were talking about organizational charts and things. Just another shameless plug for a cool Perth startup with Functionally and Tim Brewer and the crew, helping companies scale and actually think about these actions or these tasks that people need to do, and creating your organization structure around them. It's pretty cool.
Functionally.
Yeah. Trying to get Tim on a future morning startup session too. He can take us through it. Cool. Any other questions, guys?
While we're waiting for one to pop in, I'll just put in a little bit of commentary around automation. What a lot of people do is they'll look at something like, as an example, HubSpot or whatever, and they go, oh, this tool is really going to help me systemize and free me up. And one of the Cason's asking to be a panelist there. One of the issues that happens is that people try to automate before they have systemized their business. Systemization isn't automation. Systemization is creating that step-by-step methodology to deliver the outcomes. Automation is a way of taking a lot of that work away from individuals and people. So yeah, I would urge everyone, systemize before you automate. Cason's asking to be made a panelist there.
Yeah, can you do that, Dave? Sorry, I'm not logged in with the right account with the permissions.
How do you manage the people side of automation? Can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that, Jake?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in. I guess we look at our processes at Ammo a lot as well, and when you're doing that, I guess, automation aspect, and you're breaking down all the steps in the journey, the thing that we find that actually gets it from out of just being a document to being, a new process is you almost need like an owner, like a product owner. How do you go about like identifying the right product owners for that automation, and do you have any techniques that can help with that?
Generally, the idea is who would be doing it if it wasn't automated. Is the easiest way to I mean, it sounds trite, but it's pretty much what I do. Who would? The automation is saving that person from doing something inside their role. It's delivering one of their tasks for them. So without really having a look at specifics, that's generally the rule of thumb, for me.
Yeah, cool. And I guess the other aspect I find is that, and I think you touched on it earlier, is that even once that process is automated, the next thing is like finding, I guess, the future talent who feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You understand what you're recruiting for then.
Yeah.
All the technologies, like when we talk about technology, we tend to think of software or digital tools, but any kind of thing that you can introduce that streamlines something, that's a way of doing something, is kind of a technology. So yeah, the more we understand how we're going to structure the business and implement all these different systems, the more we understand who do we need in the driver's seat. Because at the end of the day, that ultimately what we're looking for is somebody sitting there looking at a dashboard of key metrics, and you can just twist the dials as they need to in order for operations to continue to function at an optimal level.
Yeah, give them a dream.
Thank you.
Kason, did you have a question there?
Oh, hi, Duncan. Hi.
Hey, Kason.
Hey.
Yeah. So, if I give you a basic idea what we've been doing, so we are developing kind of like a software. It's a cloud-based software. So, so my initial problem was I had a lot of turnover in the team because of they've been working part-time, and a lot of people comes and goes, that sort of stuff. So what we tried to do is basically try to automate, or not automate, sort of like there's a whole process you develop, and you have to test it, and you have to push it, and that whole process. We try to automate that whole thing. So and whenever a new team member comes in, that initial, the learning curve and initial setup has been brought down, the whole curve. So that's is that part of this the scaling up, the business process scaling up, or is that what you is that part of what you have talked about so far?
Yeah, so if I understand you right, you're talking about your team turnover and how to train them up for working to your particular business system. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So that training, ultimately is a way of putting them across the way that you've systemized the business, so they understand the inputs and outputs, the artifacts, the tools. And they should be able to jump in and out. Like you're looking, like right at the start, I talked about, what makes your business, when you're talking about duplication, you want to be able to duplicate at the micro and macro level. So part of that micro level is that staff members are, interchangeable. Someone can leave and someone can come back in, and the onboarding time should be negligible. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done some continuous integration work there, Kason, and you've streamlined a lot of those development processes.
Yes.
Cool.
Happy to send me an email, Kason, if you want to discuss it deeper.
Yes, please. Is that your? Where can I grab that?
No, I think you had it up on the slide there, didn't you? Oh, good.
Did you? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'll just put it in the chat there for you.
So there's a question. Oh, you answered that.
Cool.
Duncan, about XDM Hub. So a thing to help people automate inquiries from social media. Yeah.
So if you want to reach out to me, you two, I can give you.
Duncan at profitsociety.com.au.
Yeah. If anyone wants connection to that hub, I can give you more details if you send me an email or something.
Awesome.
Any thoughts on outsourcing marketing to build your brand?
Yeah, you should. There's a cool company called Ammo. I don't know if you've heard of them. They can help you out with that.
All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. If you need it, how do they get in contact with you, Duncan?
Sorry, I can't hear that.
How do they get in contact? How do people get in contact with you?
Sorry, say it once more.
How do people get in contact with you?
Right. I'll if you can still see the screen, you can text me or email me, Duncan at profitsociety.com.au. You can text me on the phone number there. Am I still sharing that screen? Is that?
No, we're looking at your face.
Okay. Let me just put the. Now I need to escape that. Sorry, where's my Zoom? I'll put it up on here. So Duncan at profitsociety.com.au.
Your LinkedIn, I believe, was Perth Startup Coach. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. 310-154. There's my phone number. And yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Duncan Blandford, and you'll see this picture of me pushing the YouTube play button.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, Duncan, thank you so much, mate. There was some good wisdom in there, and I hope everyone got some cool tips out of it to go and scale your business and simplify what you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. It's nice to be able to share this stuff. I'm a real process nerd. I love it. So yeah, happy to answer any questions if anyone wants to reach out.
Cool.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing your time. And guys, don't forget, in 2 weeks' time, we've got Pitch Your Startup. So just to give you an idea of what we've got going on in 2 weeks, we've got 4 startups so far on preserving your family's digital memories, on enabling cross-border payments for SMEs between Australia and India, a social platform for creative skills and careers, as well as another startup. In fact, Shaka was on the chat I saw, and she's enabling startups' sustainable circular economy. So those are the 4 so far, and we're looking for more. So email us at contact@morningstartup.com and register to pitch in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very
much, Scott. Thanks, Dave.
Hit this end button. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys. Take care.